Live. Hello, Facebook. This is Leland Best out at Leland Best Live with my good friend from across the pond, Stephen Healy, this morning on Across the Pond here on Smile Time. So, Stephen, go ahead, roll out this show, and let's get this party started.
Well, good afternoon, and welcome to what is episode 15 of Across the Pond. Leland and I have been doing this for the last, it's just flown by, it's 15 weeks. Amazing. Right, now, the basic format of the show is discuss happenings both sides of the Atlantic. And the first topic of today, because we sort of have a session beforehand agreeing, I think it's one that surprised me, but this is smartwatches.
Oh, yeah. That was a big article.
Yeah, there were the rage last year. I mean, all of the major shows, Samsung and Apple, all featured their wonderful smartwatches, vailed up to $8,000, I think it was. The $8,000 model has been discontinued. Apple's shipments are down by 71%.
Wow.
Pebble watches dispatched 200,000 this year, only 100,000 in the current year. The only person who's winning, or the only team that's winning, is Garmin. It seems to be that people are not enamored of their smartwatches, and Apple are repositioning theirs as a fitness application.
Honestly, I didn't know Garmin had a smartwatch either.
Garmin have got all sorts of.
I'm just switching audio here, Stephen, because I don't want to make the mistake I did yesterday or last show. I actually did the recording in-house, and I had an issue happening is I left my speakers on in the background, and I ended up getting a double recording feed of the audio that was barely trackable during the show. But it did come across that way. So I apologize for those who might have been hearing a double feed last week, and I've corrected that problem since. But yeah, and one thing I'll tell you, Stephen, is I go to a little site. I'm going to share this, and I didn't mean to put my audio in front of everything there, but this was the article Stephen was referring to about the smartwatch sales dropping so severely at BBC News. One place I find these watches that I'd love to check out sometime, I've used this site in the past. It's called wish.com. Now, I would have to log in to show you everything. Have you ever been out here, Stephen?
Nope. It's
a really cool site. Now, most of this stuff is overseas, but again, where do you think Samsung comes from? Most of that stuff is exactly what it is. It's across the pond on the other side for us anyway. Oops, let me get my password in here. But do you have one yourself?
I have a Fit, which is not a smartwatch. It means a Fit, F-I-T-B-I-T.
Oh yeah,
which is a fitness device. It's not a smartwatch by any stretch of imagination, but it does the job. I think the problem was that this was a solution looking for a problem.
Yep. And this is why I say this. Here's a smartwatch, 2016. Okay.
Yeah.
It's an anti-loss Bluetooth bracelet watch for an Android phone. And you see the price here?
$12. Which is a bit different. Which is a bit different.
Crazy? Is that crazy or what?
That's crazy.
Well, yeah, exactly. And that's where it's come to. I mean, it used to be, and it always is the case, when technology first comes out to the masses, it's always a steep price. I mean, I remember when I bought my first laptop, I paid, what, $3,500 back in the 80s.
Yeah.
And now I can get one of these for $12.
When I bought mine, this was in the days of the Commodore PET. I bought the machine with 32K RAM.
Yeah, that's not me.
That was $1,200.
That's the system. And I'll tell you right now, Stephen, we may need to consider second alternatives because we were notified when we came out here on Smile Time. Maybe I can drag you. Is my audio messed up?
No, your audio is fine at the moment. Chris, can you confirm that you can hear us?
Let me switch headphones then. Let me just make sure it's not me. I want to clarify for everybody here because my Bluetooth device might just be running out of batteries.
Okay.
Let's see what we got here. Okay. Go ahead and speak again, Stephen.
You're right. Okay. We're talking about smartwatches.
Okay. And maybe it's this.
Okay.
I apologize. Okay.
No worries.
I'll leave that on.
The batteries went in my keyboard today. It's annoying. Why things are battery driven, I know not. It's a pain. The smartwatches are battery driven too, but we're just talking about smartwatches. The fact that they were last year's favorite toy, and now things have totally changed. Apple are repositioning theirs as a fitness device. and all this wonderful spy stuff.
Well, yeah, that's kind of where it derived from, was from the old Dick Tracy thing. You know, it was Dick Tracy had the watch. You know, it was the way to go. It was the spy gadget of the century, and you know, he could talk to his cohorts and the police department. Everything was all behind the scenes. They never knew what Dick Tracy was up to because he had his special spy watch going on, and everybody wanted that communication. I think it's a great idea. Honestly, I would much probably rather walk around and be able to vocally, you know, verbalize a speech for text and send a text message off my wrist, then and just have a simple Bluetooth device. I don't have my other one handy right now, but I have similar to the Plantronics device. And I'll be honest, because this is a lot of what you're seeing here, is this watch costs $12. Okay. If you're familiar with the Plantronics Bluetooth device, that is called, one of them is called the Voyager Legend. I purchased one a couple of years ago for $100. Okay. I loved it. I lost it. I was trimming branches and I went to the dump to take some and it fell out of my pocket or something. I'm not sure where I lost it, but I lost it to the environment. So I was a little frustrated and I let it go for a while. Well, not more than a month or so ago, I saw the same device, exact same device, less the fact that rather than a magnetic charging port, it had an actual mini USB port. $13. Okay. It was not branded Plantronics. And I felt, okay, that's a risk. It could be a cheap knockoff. Well, I'm sorry, people, but most of the stuff you buy right now is manufactured in China or Korea or overseas somewhere and has a brand slapped on it. It's shipped back to the US or the UK and it's sold on the open market. Much like what you're seeing here with this little watch. I paid $13 for that other unit and it's beautiful. It works just as well, if not better than the other one, because it has a better connector for the charger. So I was like,
we're paying for brand marketing, aren't we? For
yes, we are.
Television adverts, for newspaper adverts, for Facebook advertising, and that all bumps the price up. And as you say, a bit of research, which you've done, and you can get the equivalent for a bargain, really. And
I agree.
You tested it works. Right. Okay.
So if you want to get one cheap, check out wish.com. I'll tell you this, shipping times can be exorbitant on some of the products because they do, and I've had stuff where it never showed up, but I got my refund. They were more than happy to give me my money back right away because I didn't receive the product. But don't rely on this to like get something to somebody for their birthday in a week. It could take a month before you get the product, but well worth the same. Go check it out. All right.
Right. Okay. You are watching Across the Pond with Leland Best and Stephen Healy, and we're here every week at this time. And we are not live. We are live on Facebook, but we are on Smile Time, so we can't see your comments there, but we will check them from time to time.
And that's one thing I need to do, and maybe I could pull one up while you're talking about the next. Well, we have a bit of a sad story to bring up. And Stephen, I was asking Stephen this morning. I said, you know what? We need a song for the show. We need a cue-in song that we can pipe up some music just to get things rolling out here. And he mentioned a song that we could use, but it was written by an artist who just passed. So our tribute here is to Pete Burns. If you're not familiar with who Pete is, he plays. So I'm going to disappear for a second while I set up a Facebook feed, Stephen. Hopefully I'll be able to pull it out. So if you want to talk a little about what happened there, go right ahead.
Right. Okay. Pete Burns surfaced in 1986 with You Spin Me Right Round, Baby Right Round, and I'm not going to sing it for you. He did far better than I.
Spin me right round, baby, right round, right round.
A duet. And that's the song that was popular both sides of the Atlantic. It was reissued in 2006 and became a hit again. And Pete Burns himself was in our version of Big Brother in the 2000s. So he's never been out of the public eye, really. He said what he felt. There was no arguing with him. His opinion stood, and he was, to coin an English phrase, he was outrageous. And you know, a trendsetter, if some say, but genuinely an innovative person who brought great spirit to his music and to everything that he did. He was very colourful, and if you're going to liken him to anybody, you would liken him to Boy George, another British musician. But
Now, where does he live over there? He's from the UK, correct?
he is, yes.
That's what I thought. Do you happen to know where he stationed himself over there? While I shrink my little thingy here, I'm going to fit in our Facebook feed so we can watch this.
I'm going to have to rush off to Wiki. His mother was German, and
Okay.
his father was English, and they lived in the UK, and I think they spent some time in Wales, but latterly he was in London. He, was a legend.
Yeah, for sure.
But one of those legends where people could still say, if you mentioned Pete Burns, people would say who.
Yeah,
if you heard the record, then you'd know. But he was, to all intents and purposes, a one-hit wonder. Although his band Dead and Alive did have several singles out in the UK and the US.
Do you know what the cause of death was, Stephen? I haven't heard. I haven't even heard this story.
Okay, it was a heart attack.
Oh, okay.
And he was only 57.
Wow.
He had problems over recent years, not related to his heart, but he had problems, and something we can't legislate for.
No, absolutely.
Yeah,
that's kind of crazy, isn't it? Okay. Yeah. I have Neil Dewson Smith is at least out on the page, I believe. So what you're seeing now below my screen, which I'm going to confirm that that's the gentleman out there. So Neil, if you're there, go ahead and pop another one. I know Chris Ripka's here in the stage with us today. So let me see who else is out there. And that may actually be a feed from something previous. Let me refresh real quick, Steve.
Neil has joined us. That's Sergeant TCS. Welcome, Neil. And welcome to Chris, and welcome to Drew. And yes, it's the name. The song sort of sticks with you because once you've got you bring me right around in your head, then we'll get rid of it.
For sure. And we're going to make certain that I think that'd be a great song for this particular feed, Stephen. I really do. And send hello. Thanks for coming, send Nathan. So you will see any comments that you leave for us here on Across the Pond will start to show up on the Facebook feed. They'll roll through every 10 seconds. So if you do want to make some comments or have any questions for Stephen or myself, or just want to bring up a topic for discussion, we're a little behind the ball because I've been very busy the last few days gathering some equipment and putting some other products together that I picked up running around towns. So I was behind the ball and I didn't prep real well for today's show. So. But when do I ever, Stephen? Do I ever really prep for the show?
We wing it 2 or 3 hours before the show.
We do,
because we want to be up to date with the news.
Absolutely.
And thank you for joining us here. Yeah, the experience on Smile Time, if people can join us here, is different from Facebook because it's a show atmosphere and we can swap things in and out. And Leland is the master at doing that. So we make full use, or Leland makes full use of the Smile Time facilities.
I'm trying to poke around with this stuff. So if you are wondering how I'm bringing the Facebook feed in, it is using vMix Social, which is a free plugin that they offer with their main live production software package. So those folks out there, I'm basically feeding off of my Leland Best live stream, which is a post that was sent out from Smile Time through their backend. So I don't have to maintain the feed into Facebook at all on my end with bandwidth. I just rely on Smile Time to take care of that. And then I bring the comments back in here, which is what we're finally starting to see, Stephen, on a lot of the newer platforms. For instance, Be Live, which you've used more than I have.
Yep, I mean, we're on Be Live today, and Be Live is a revelation because they got it right first time out. Basically, if you go on BeLive.tv, you can bring yourself or a guest, and you can see the feed from Facebook as it appears, and it's live, and you can react to it. So, question and answer session that Kevin and I did earlier today went very well. That's where people are watching.
Yeah. All right, so I did post something yesterday, Stephen, and you mentioned to go ahead and bring it up, and I may as well. We always get a little political on here every now and then. So
we do.
I had a video come across my news feed yesterday, which kind of upset me. There were 2 of them, actually. As you know, when people are out to register people to vote, there's supposed to be unbiased voter registration.
Yep.
Okay, that's one topic that I saw float across the news feeds yesterday. So you're supposed to simply walk around with a piece of paper on a clipboard and fill out people's names and take their registration so that they can vote during the primaries. And of course, you have to be pre-registered in order to vote, or otherwise it's not allowed. But there are a lot of people going around, and I hate to say it, primarily on the DNC ticket, which is the Democratic National Committee side, Hillary Clinton, you might say, and her cronies are out there carrying anti-Trump propaganda. On the backs of the clipboards, pictures of Trump's face with a big red circle and a hash through it, and handing out Hillary flyers while they're registering people to vote. And there was some instance of some people caught on film, and I can probably bring that up real quick behind me so that you can see this, and we'll at least bring that over behind me first, and then I'm going to make it a little, because I want to make sure I get this to size. I'm just going to play it behind me in the feed so that you guys can see it. You can see this, right, Stephen?
Yes, you can see it. We've got it loading. You can see it clearly.
All right, and I have to get the feed for the audio over to it, and we're just going to play this clip. It's very short, so we'll take it.
Okay.
Right, it's supposed to be nonpartisan. No, we didn't know. Let me see here. Donald Trump, cross out on the back. You're registering people to vote.
For Republican and Democratic.
But you're not, though, because look. Let's see the
Working
front.
for the Democratic Party.
I'm going to take one of these.
You can't look up.
I can have one of those. It's okay. It's going on YouTube. It looks more suspicious that you won't give me a Hillary Clinton. Can I have one, please?
No, this is something else. It's a
No, it says Hillary Clinton. I've seen it.
Commitment to vote.
She's committing voter fraud. She's committing voter fraud, everybody. Remember this lady's face right here.
So you get the point.
Yes.
And the thing that's beautiful about this, Stephen, with the fact that we have people out there with cell phones and cameras nowadays, and these abilities to catch people in the act, let's say, of breaking the law or doing things that aren't appropriate. Obviously, there are times when, these cameras are a nuisance and they get in the way, and honestly, you see things that you wish you could take away and not see again. There's been some very violent stuff shown on live feeds and things also that we have to contend with. And I hate to see that stuff, but there's also those moments where people catch things. And there was another thing right in that same feed where there was a gentleman caught on a live feed taking off his shirt for a shirtless man on the subway, giving him his shirt and his hat. And it's, such a different side to each story that you don't expect to see. So I'm really glad people out there doing that.
Yeah, reporting by the general public obviously brings things to light which normally wouldn't catch the main broadcasters.
Absolutely.
So you're on a countdown now, November 8th.
Yes, that's the big day. Everybody's got to get out and vote. So please, if you do, I'm never here to tell people who to vote for. I know who I plan to vote for, and that's my business and no one else's. And I wish more people would understand that that's really the way it is. I tend to just throw things out there to show facts of what's going on. I try to show both sides whenever possible, but it's been difficult in this battle because so much of what's coming out, like with WikiLeaks, obviously, a lot of people freaked out. They thought the person Assange over there, who's bordered up in one of the emissaries over on your side of the pond, was dead the other day, but it was actually the original founder. I believe it's McNabley, or I can't recall his name. He was sick over the past several months, and he passed recently also. He's one of the original creators and founders of the movement that is Truth in Journalism, and one of the also base founders of WikiLeaks, but it wasn't who everyone thought it was. And big stories were going around that, oh, the guy from WikiLeaks is dead, and everybody thought Clinton killed him and all this other garbage. And it's people, get your facts straight before you start pumping stuff out. So
no, he is alive, still in the embassy, and he's had his internet access withdrawn. Because the government who he's staying with at the moment don't want to be seen to be interceding in your election. So until the election is over, he won't have internet. But he is not WikiLeaks. He is one person in WikiLeaks, and so the leaks continue. Talking of leaks, we had last weekend, last Friday, Saturday, we were attacked, weren't we? Well, not we.
A little
Twitter.
bit, yeah. I discovered a little more about that. That was actually some code that was leaked to the general public, and the code actually takes advantage of what is known as Internet on Demand.
Internet of Things.
Internet of Things, yes, thank you, the IoT. And what that is things like the Amazon device and the Google Home and Amazon Echo, all these devices that run off the internet that not many people consider going in and resetting passwords and giving usernames for. They just set it up and it's set for the default. So this software accessed a lot of those devices and took over by sending DDoS attacks across the board, which is kind of like when you don't want to listen to somebody and you go, nah, 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 while they're talking to you. That's basically what the computers were doing to the internet. And we lost a lot of big sites. Twitter was one of them. So
it was, and Facebook withstood it. Google withstood it because they're distributed networks and strong enough to do so. But we were attacked by our kettles and toasters, and it's not a science fiction; it's science fact. I mean, the simple thing, as Linda referred to earlier, all this kit, which is in our kitchens, our domestic appliances, household appliances, is manufactured in China and the Far East.
Yeah.
It has Wi-Fi access. So is that each one has got its own password, but it might just be as simple as password 1 2 3 4.
Oh yeah.
So what happens is that computers on the net find these devices, trial the password, and if they get through, they have control of the device and they can then transmit. So there were millions of Internet of Things devices, and they were attacking us. And that isn't a thing people could do.
No, not really. And they expect it to happen again because the code has been released now to the public domain. And what that means is that there's probably several hundreds, if not thousands of other hackers that have already gotten their hands on this software. So obviously the FBI is involved. There's a lot of other people involved. You know, it reminds me of that movie like Maximum Overdrive back in the day where the cars and everything were taken over for, because we have smart cars now. You know, we have all these technologies. And, you know, I can't stress enough for the people who are out there who have routers connected to their, if you're not just going directly out, which normally you're not going just through a cable box, you're usually heading out. Obviously, dial-up's not around anymore, is it? I hope not.
No.
But I'm sure it is in some places. But what we have to realize is that a lot of times people just leave that default admin username, pass or password, which is what it normally is admin and password. People need to change that stuff. You know, they need to literally get a little bit proactive and go in and make sure that they secure themselves at least a little bit so that down the road they don't have to suffer from these types of attacks on the internet. So
Chris,
we're pretty well connected.
Yeah, I might have been jesting a little bit about kettles and toasters, but certainly a lot of our household appliances are Wi-Fi enabled. If you think of a fridge that can order from your local store. When something's taken out of the fridge, it notices it and it places an order with a local store. That is Wi-Fi enabled. Anything that's like that, as Leland said, the devices that come out recently from Apple and from Google and from a whole host of people are all Wi-Fi enabled, all capable of transmitting, not just receiving, but transmitting.
Well, you've seen that commercial. Did you mention just now that refrigerator?
Yeah.
Have you seen that in action? I mean, what you can actually do is stand at the store, and if you need to know what's there, they have cameras mounted inside of them where you can see what's in your refrigerator. If you're standing in the aisle at Kroger and going, oh, wow, I'm out of eggs. I really need to buy some eggs while I'm here. Those are other technologies that we tend to take for granted. And, you know, people could be getting in your house. You have garage door openers that are connected to the systems nowadays.
Well,
so much.
The favorite one is cameras, isn't it? If you've got a security system set up and that security system is Wi-Fi, then there are websites where you can go and watch wall-to-wall video from people who have no idea that they're on camera.
Absolutely.
You know, I mean, we talk about the town. I mean, our town devices in Wiltshire. We have CCTV throughout the whole of the town centre, and it can track you for a mile from one end of the town to the other, and you never leave camera. And that's the sort of thing that can, well, I'm not saying devices has been hacked, but certainly Wi-Fi cameras in the home can be hacked. Anyway.
One of our viewers brought up a really good point while we were talking, and it was something outside of the scope of where we're at now, but I wanted to kind of go back and touch on it. It was actually Seth Nathan mentioned something about the election won't be fair until they put it on the blockchain. And if nobody knows what a blockchain is, it has to do with Bitcoin. It's a relatively a server established for an internet currency, okay, an electronic currency, but it has to do with so many other things. There's so many ways it can be used. It's basically a 256-bit encrypted code, I believe. If I'm wrong, I apologize. I'm not real big on Bitcoin, but I have studied a little bit. And what this allows for is majorly time stamping certain things. Like if somebody created a piece of art and signed it, they could timestamp the signature of the creation there on the bit chain, and it would be saved for eternity, and no one would be able to deny when, where, and how that particular painting was created, let's say. Same thing here if it comes to voting establishments. The voting could be done through a bit chain process where it could be coded for every vote to take place, that each of those votes would be locked in secure through encrypted security and never change. It could never be changed. So there'd be no possibility of going back and tearing up a ballot or removing a vote or installing software. Has been identified here over in the US under congressional hearings that there was software built, developed, and utilized in several different elections out here for different reasons, state elections, primarily in Florida, that were undetectable. This was software that no one would have known was running in the background, that was altering the way so that basically whoever they wanted to win would automatically get the 51-49 vote. And that's, it's something that you cannot follow back and say that it was actually doing its work, but it does exist. So good point, Sean. So thanks so much for bringing that up. We do appreciate it.
Right. Okay. Now, a couple of decisions in the UK made recently, which affect everybody who travels through the UK. Until recently, we had the world's largest airport in London, Heathrow. And we've now been overtaken by Dubai, or Abu Dhabi, sorry. But after 10 years of thinking about it and a recommendation made a year ago, our cabinet, our government have decided that they are going to extend Heathrow Airport to have a third runway. Now, this is necessary because of the increase in traffic. It's not without people who are against it. Boris Johnson is against it. A whole host of people are against it, especially the residents of Middlesex who live near the existing airport. They're not happy about it. But decisions have been made. It doesn't mean that the ground will be broken and a new runway will be started tomorrow, because Parliament has got to discuss it. So it could be about 12, 15 months ahead that something actually happens. But this has been a bone of contention. David Cameron, who was our Prime Minister in 2009, refused to choose, because there's a choice between Gatwick, which is north of London, and Heathrow, which is the west of London. And he refused to choose. He said no. But our current government, led by Mrs. Theresa May, has said that Heathrow is the place where the runway will be built. And we can look forward to a battle royal between all colours of political opinion in the UK over the next 12 months as that passes into law. And, you know, one thing I will say about this government is they do drive things through.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, I'm seeing here that the expansion would bring in 260,000 more flights to the airport. So obviously, if the airport needs, and we do have a tricky landing that took place over at Heathrow recently, it looks like. I'm not sure if that's there. It must be kind of difficult to land out at Heathrow. Is that what that is?
It's basically there's so many planes landing, and I guess I'm going to get it wrong. I'll get it wrong. It's about 3 minutes between planes.
Oh, really? Well, let's take a quick look here and see exactly what it takes to land out at Heathrow Airport, shall we?
Okay.
I got a little bit of an advertisement, it looks like, so I'm covering that up.
It's cooler out.
Don't need to see the ad.
That's the thing with video these days, isn't it? You always get the advert at the top.
Earn 3% cash back on gas.
I can't block it out.
Cash Rewards credit card.
All right, here we go. This is a tricky landing in 60 seconds out of Heathrow. Can you see the whole video in the frame
you
there?
can just scan left a bit.
I can't really.
All right, okay, fine. No, we can see it. We can see it.
White paper on third runway at Heathrow. Public consultation on third runway, over. Government confirms support for third runway, roger that.
Maybe I can a little bit. Here we go. How's that?
That's third runway approved now, over.
Perfect.
Coalition ruling out third runway at Heathrow, no ifs or buts, over. The Airport Commission launched now to reopen the issue, considering Gatwick, Stansted and Thames Estuary.
That's the house that'd be affected.
Airport Commission now backing third runway at Heathrow, over.
Oh, I get it. It's a little bit of a ploy, isn't it?
Yeah.
And government's finally given us permission to land at Heathrow.
So
Very good. Very good.
Years. But it is a boost to the economy. It's necessary because, you know, we are the London Heathrow is a hub. So you've got flights from the USA, you've got flights from the Far East, you've got flights from Australia, from New Zealand, from Europe, all passing through. So if you were going to fly from Michigan, you'd possibly go to Heathrow, and then if you want to go on to Frankfurt, you get a flight from Heathrow to Frankfurt. So it's a hub. That's why it's so busy. It's not a destination.
I guess
It's somewhere that people pass through. And it's like a rabbit warren because the in-transit people never see the land side. They're always on the air side. And it gets very confusing at times. You take a wrong turn, you could end up in customs. Yep, so that's Heathrow. And we'll be back reporting on that probably on show 52.
Well, I would expect, right? I would expect not many people realize that the reason that these airports need to grow, okay?
Yep.
And I've been involved myself in some airport design. I was a civil designer for 25 years. And during that course of time, I actually worked on two of the runways here on Bishop Airport, which is located in Flint. It's now a major thoroughfare. It's not one of the largest, obviously, but it doesn't compete with Detroit Metropolitan or even the city of Detroit Airport, but because there are two airports in Detroit, not many people are aware of that. Because of the fact that we do get Metro is the larger international hub. The city airport is more for the local traffic, but it does take some very big flights also. So both are capable of landing 747s. Metro allows for the 767 and 777 flights to roll in. But what a lot of people don't realize is how many planes are actually out there. You want to take a look at something that'll really blow your mind, head over to planefinder.net, because thanks to the fact that GPS is a governmentally owned, well, it's actually a world entity. It's covers the globe. It has opened up some amazing abilities for us to see what's actually going on in the world. I'm going to disappear for a second while I zoom in on this. This is the live air traffic that's taking place right this moment. Going across the pond, you might say.
Yep. Wow.
Between our two countries. Now, can you even see the map, Stephen?
I can. Yeah. Wow.
Right, here's the U.S. Let's just zoom in a little bit so you can get a little better idea of the airline traffic that's taking place. And you'll see as I zoom into these maps here, excuse me, had a little frog in my throat there. These are actually moving entities. You can see and track. You can go and pick on each one of these and find out what the flight number is for this particular flight. And I could move it over just slightly so you can see what I'm talking about here, perhaps. Let me drop it out of the frame for a second so you can see this. I want you to be able to see what I'm capable of here. I'm going to reduce it down just big enough so you can see it. All right, this particular frame here shows you, oops, I just lost you. Hold on. I picked on the wrong button. Let's get this back on here. Does that fill the screen pretty well? I think it does.
It does, yeah.
All right, now what you see, if I pick on a flight here, you can see I can find where the flight's at. It's Southwest, Boeing 737-700, last updated 7 minutes ago, tells me where it's going, where it's been, how fast it's flying, what altitude it's at, and what heading it's running. So you can literally go out here, pick any flight you'd like to across the world and find out where it's headed. Now, I've been seeing this stuff recently online about people. I don't know if you've ever heard of the flat earthers or not, Stephen.
Oh, yes, indeed.
Okay, it's a big thing nowadays, and mostly for the fact that many people are always finding something to have a conspiracy theory about. Okay, that's primarily what causes it. But they wanted to say that the reason that flights were disappearing in the southern Atlantic and across the southern oceans and along Antarctica is because there's no it's all flat. This is like the perimeter of the planet. Okay. Well, let me be honest with everyone. The reason planes don't fly down here is because there's no place to land. Okay. You can't.
There's nobody living there either.
Exactly. You can't fly a flight. Here's one right here, which is probably going to the tip of South America from somewhere off of, Australia's coast. But the fact remains, yes, they can get over here quickly, but you're not going to find planes flying from here across the lower hemisphere unless they're heading to one of these smaller tips of these countries. Nothing's going to fly down here when it can fly up over this way and make certain that it has safe travel in case there's a problem, in case an engine breaks, in case landing gear doesn't come down like it should. At least you've got alternatives and you're not flying down here along the Southern Ocean near Antarctica, where if you got to land on ice, you're out of luck, pal. So
very true.
I just thought it was a really cool thing. And you will see planes taking the northern route too to get across the world the other way. So
it just shows, I mean, every one of these flights is being controlled by somebody on the ground, and this happens every day, and no wonder. I mean, it's a stressful job, isn't it, being sort of controlling all this lot.
I mean, look at all those planes over your head right now, Stephen.
Yep. Just where, can you see bottom left where it's a green dot? Go down. I'll show you where I am. Left a bit. Go left to the next green dot. Right up a bit.
Exeter. Oh, right up in here.
No, to the plane. Down and right to the plane.
Oh, right here.
That's it. That's where I am.
Oh, so, it's right over top of you right now. Huh? Okay. Well, there we go.
Right, we're pretty close to Bristol Airport, which is about an hour away. And,
so let's Stephen. Let's find Stephen. Where are you at here?
Devizes.
Can you tell me the nearest town I see here?
Swindon, Salisbury.
Why can't I see these? I'm looking for Swindon and Salisbury.
Right. Okay. We'll have to investigate this another time. You want to go left a bit, I think.
No, that's fine. I just wanted to play around with you a little bit, Stephen. I wanted to zoom in and see if I could see your license plate number or something while I was. That's just the way we like.
You just need Google Earth and Street Map, and you'll find it.
It's all good.
Okay. Now this is where we could go on to our tech section, couldn't we? Because there's been news this week from two of our friends.
Absolutely.
Who provide services.
Yep.
And you broke the news about Fire Talk.
Yeah, Fire Talk has finally devised a plan. Let me go over there real quick so everybody can see what's happening over at Fire Talk. We've been waiting for quite some time for Fire Talk to decide where they were going to go with their monetization model. Well, honestly, last February or so, I'm going to have to mute this real quick, so I apologize for any sound that comes through. There we go. Okay. What we discovered for a long time was that it was free. Okay. And there was a reason for that. The reason they made it free was because they had two ways that people could utilize the platform. And that was with live events. Now you could schedule an event on your site as one of two types of events. You could come over here and create a pay-per-view event or a free event. And the pay-per-view event was established so that those people who were doing the shows could charge per ticket sales at whatever price they wanted to, and then Fire Talk would simply take a percentage of the sales. The other way that they monetized it was to have membership channels. So what they allowed for on their blog, if you went over to see what they were up to, you could find out that they had not only the pay-per-view events, and let me just head over to their recent posts, but they were also allowing for, now they have all their plans listed out. They were allowing for the members only channels, okay, which was a way that you could secure your channel so that people would have to pay you a one-time fee so that they could access your channel, much like you do nowadays for private groups and things like that, or access to a membership site. And that was all well and good, but what ended up happening, I believe, because they're on the TalkBox platform, they use that as their base format. TalkBox charges per minute of not only broadcasting, but recording time, usually around 4 thousandths of a dollar per minute. Okay, now that doesn't seem like a lot of money, But when you have hundreds, if not thousands, up to millions of users, hundreds of thousands, let's say, using all at one time and creating live video and recording video at the same time, then you have an issue.
Indeed.
So we waited for a long time to get what you see here now. If you notice, these posts were just put up dated October 21st, which seems odd to me because I'm pretty sure I was out here before that. But they have recently established the basic, the semi-pro, the professional, and the enterprise level. Now, I can kind of summarize this much quicker rather than going to the blog posts. I will simply head over to firetalk.com and go to the back end of my channel real quick so that you can actually see on the back end. Let me head over to, let me head to my profile so that you can see this under the settings page. What you'll find for the channel down here is the premium options. Okay, you should be able to see all that, I believe, in the window.
Yep. Well, you see it's there, but I mean, I can read it. There's a free level.
Yes. There's a free plan, a basic plan, a semi-pro plan, a pro plan, and an enterprise plan. Okay. Now, we were all given the enterprise plan, as you can see here on this page, as a free featured plan when we came onto the site. Okay. And that was all well and good. Gave us unlimited access, maximum of 3 extra guests with screen share, episode archiving, monthly subscription was nothing, obviously. And we could create the free events, and we could now we couldn't receive tips before, which is interesting. They now have this tip jar feature that's available to anyone above the free plan. So they stripped us. They basically took it down to 10 minutes a day, 10 viewers, 1 guest, no screen share, no episode archiving, and it was free, obviously, but you couldn't create events anymore. And we're still running on that plan, as you can see, until it voids out after the 30-day extension they gave us after they did it, if you requested it. Otherwise, it just suddenly shut off. So what do you think, Stephen? $1,549, $199 a month? Really?
Ouch. I mean, you and I agreed on one thing. This is WebRTC, it's top box, and it's not perfect. And until the platform is perfect, it's very difficult to charge for it, because if you've got paying customers and your system screws up, we don't care whether it's WebRTC, top box, anything, your system doesn't work. And all they're doing by monetizing this stage is buying themselves problems, because they're bound to have, I mean, at the moment, because we're not paying, we are beta testers, we give freely of our opinions. If it goes wrong, we live with it. That changes, doesn't it?
Yeah, and it's sad because we do feel as content creators, which I do think is appreciated a little more here on Smile Time than in most of the other platforms, honestly, is that we are a contributing factor to their success. If it weren't for the people broadcasting the shows and creating the content and being out here using these live platforms, what would they be? They would simply be dust in the wind. They would be a platform that nobody's using, just sitting there gathering dust. So I find it interesting that in this case, they accepted all of our feedback. They worked very closely with us at the beginning. And then I think some of it had to do with the merger between Paltalk and Snap, which is not Snap, the Snapchat app, but it's a dating feature. And they have a new name out for it now. I just got notice of it. First Met, I believe it's called, which is incorporating with Paltalk, the owners of FireTalk. And they're starting this new dating website thing for actually adults rather than younger Generation X or Generation Y or Z. It's more like the Generation X and baby boomers. So looking forward to where it goes. Honestly, I always have hopes that in the future they'll realize what they did was probably a shot in the foot, but
they turn the tap off overnight. And of course, as soon as you do that, you've got bad feelings, bad vibes. If you don't explain it and you say, cut everybody down to 10 minutes, and then people just walk off and go and find somewhere else. Now,
that's what they did.
No, it's if they could have handled it differently. Well, I think our critique is reasonable. We do hope, because it is, when the lab closed, that's where we all went. That's where people who were looking to do forum shows went. And we accepted that occasionally it wasn't going to work, but it works fine most of the time. And it was a good implementation of it.
Yeah. And it does do wonderful recordings. I have to admit, the feature I liked the most about FireTalk was its back end, the dashboard. The ability to actually go in there and archive all your shows and upload them to YouTube. You could see all your subscribers. You had a really great back-end dashboard on that system, and I'm going to miss that tremendously. But what ended up starting to fall was when Google shut down access to their API for Google Direct logins, which has been revamped completely. And if you weren't on board for all that noticing that they were giving for the past 365 days that said it was going to go away, which I expected FireTalk would have done, and they didn't, it was like all of a sudden you could not connect your YouTube account to the platform. And that made it difficult because you had to download your video, and then if you wanted to alter it or not, then you had to upload it back into YouTube, when before you just had to pick a button and it would shoot it off into YouTube space. Now that's gone. That went away first. Then everything got repriced and restructured. And would I go out and use it still, Stephen? I think if I had the inkling to just go do a quick 10-minute, okay, like welcome to the show I'm doing over here.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Maybe.
I mean, we still use it every week, Thursday, 10 o'clock for Blubbing for Britain, because there's 4 of us on screen. And the main reason is, and I'm sure Smart Time are aware of this, is that it's 4 up on screen in equal boxes.
Yeah.
Smart Time doesn't have. They need the new stage setting, which I'm sure they're thinking about because we won't problem. But
we're trying to talk them into it, that's for sure.
It comes back to the community, and the sense of community here on Smart Time is real, isn't it?
Oh yeah, for sure. I enjoy, and this kind of is reminiscent of that other platform that no one likes to talk about anymore, because I honestly don't like the name. And have you seen what's out there now, Stephen? That's another one we haven't talked about. Have you been over to?
I've been over there. I came out quick.
Let me mention something to you while I've got it here, because it flashed up on my mind and it wasn't something I was thinking about earlier. Bebo.com. They were the creators behind Blab, obviously. We all remember Furqan and Sean Curry and those guys over there who helped us build communities. Obviously, it was something we should have been in control of all along. It was something that, you know, we have to drop on someone else's shoulders to build community for us. We should be able to do that on our own. But let me shrink this window down a little bit so you can see it again like we did just a minute ago. I'm not going to go real small with it, but let me give you a hint. And you might kind of like this, Stephen, to some regards, because you are the programmer type. I'm going to disappear again for just a minute. And what's happening over at Bebo is once they took the app to the next level, they offered what's called it's a group that you can create. Okay. And this is just a demo. I don't actually maintain this particular group. I created it for the sake of the group that I run on Facebook, but you can add rooms to this. Okay. So you can, these are rooms I don't have, like the photo stream. Hectris is a game. Agar, if you're familiar with Agario or agar.io, it's a bunch of little circles going around gobbling each other up, kind of like a snake game. There's a stories thing, which is similar to Snapchat stories. Quick Color, which is a coloring program, and then a music lounge where you can share some music. Or if you're up to the task, their SDK is built into this platform.
Okay, yep.
So you can simply go to the development documentation and you can go ahead and plug in your own room. You can create with code anything you want, which would mean here, I can go over and announce something to my entire group. I could send an announcement across, invite people to this private group that I've created.
Yep.
I could broadcast out, which would be for me only, a live feed, which if I go live, you'll see the infinity effect because it's taking off of my camera, but it went live instantly. It also has a chat feature, which would be a private group chat for those people you invite to your group. It has the direct messaging, which would be an @call to anyone in your group so that you have a private message ability between members in your group. You also have discussions like a topic for a forum type BBS post forum blog to where people could comment and thread on a particular topic of discussion. And then you can create events, which are very simple. You simply create a tag for a title, a description. Once you create that event, you set, obviously set a date and a time. You create that, it stays within the group as an ongoing event until people, and they can tell you whether they're going to show up or not on the back end. And then you have a video lounge, which is also another one of those features where we go live instantly with WebRTC, but it allows for up to 8 people. So this is a feature that's kind of nice in regards to kind of using your own internal appear-in, let's say.
Yeah.
And if you haven't heard, if you didn't see the recent talk that took place over on your side of the pond by Sven, the owner of Appearin, they will be going pro very shortly, which will be a paid version of Appearin that will support up to 20 people on screen. I expect they will probably have recording features available also on Appearin. And what they said in that symposium, which was several WebRTC developers besides himself, he came from a telecom industry, and Appearin, being a WebRTC platform, was going to go into a paid platform. They have like 1 million users already.
Wow.
They figure if even 20% of the people in their user base go to the paid plan, they'd be doing really well for themselves.
Well, wish them well.
Yeah, I think it'll be a great idea. So we'll see. But that's Vivo.com. So go check it out.
Yes. I think there is what we could call a credibility problem with Vivo.
I agree.
Right. Now, the only other news that came out this week, which came out very quietly, is that Blue Jeans will announce their pricing on the 21st of November.
Yes.
Now, that means that we've got free run until then, which is good news. So another 4 weeks where we can test it to the hilt and put shows out from there. The quality that comes from there is pretty darn good.
It is.
But it's corporate, and the pricing structure may well be, I shouldn't second guess, but it'll be interesting to see what it is.
Yeah, and I know you and I both experienced a potential leak in that information that came across from a phone call from someone we know that went directly to Blue Jeans. And it was because they had issues or wanted to know more about what their opportunities were. We received a 30-day trial to the platform back a couple of weeks ago. And now they're limiting it to 2 weeks. But there was, I think, a little release of information as to how the payments were going to be. And it was going to be very enterprise level. It was going to be certain amounts of time that you had to purchase and a minimum amount that you had to purchase during the course of a month period. So it may very well be outside of the reach of many small businesses that are just entrepreneurial types or mom and pop shops or people that have very limited budgets for broadcasting. I think you're going to find that Blue Jeans is going to be out of the park for them. That's how I see it.
It's good to know it's there, and we can go to the next level should we desire. But what we're waiting for, because this is now our favorite platform, Smile Time. Hello, Smile Time staff. It's for Smile Time to just carry on improving it, and we're going to stay here.
I'm looking forward to some of the exciting things I've heard recently, which are obviously the mobile abilities to broadcast from mobile are one thing in particular. The Facebook live feeds coming into the chat is another that's being worked on currently in hopes of that taking place real quick. The stability has been obviously something we've struggled with a little bit here on Smile Time. We've had people lose recordings and that's the other thing we're still waiting for is the VOD.
Oh yeah.
So until we see the ability to maintain, we're recording, they're saving our recordings. It'd be nice if we could have them so that we could use them. That's what we want them for. So Smile Time, knock, knock. I'm just knocking on the glass there to say, if the quicker you can get us some recordings out where we can salvage and repurpose for later use, then that would be fantastic. So.
But we are smiling, aren't we?
Yes, yes, we are.
It's the place to be.
Hey, today went off without a hitch, I think. What do you think?
I'm pretty sure it did, which is pretty good. I just want to just visit your page at the moment and see who's there. The other news that came out this week, or the other thing that happened this week, I don't know if you're aware that there's a camp outside Calais, close to.
Oh yeah, you did mention it. Yep, go ahead and bring that up real quick.
And
we'll wrap it up.
The situation with that is that everybody who came from the eastern countries and came across the sea and through Europe ended up at Calais if they wanted to come across to the UK.
Yep.
And the camp living conditions with thousands of people in there was atrocious, to give it a
really.
Right? And the French have decided, this has nothing to do with the EU, but the French decided that this could not continue. And so today, the thousands of people who are in there have been trafficked out, bussed out to camps spread throughout France, And the people have moved into better surroundings, and that camp itself has been closed. So the thousands of people who were there, a couple of hundred children, youngsters, came over to the UK, those who had family here and what have you, and a few who didn't. So 200 came to the UK, but the other thousands have been dispersed throughout France. And we'll have to see what happens, because it had got to a stage. The problem was, and it was a genuine problem, that they'd had such frustration because they couldn't get into the UK. They were trying to hitch rides on trucks that were coming through the Channel Tunnel. Not only hitching rides, and that's been going on for years in the car parks. They've been getting themselves stowed away in trucks and what have you, but they were starting to attack vehicles on the road on the way into the port.
Wow.
So there was violence going on, and that had to be stopped. So that's why the camp has been moved, and the people who were living there, who are refugees, not saying that they're not entitled to help, have been moved to camps which are away from Calais.
Oh, okay.
You know, the question asked is, why do they want to live in France? But
yeah, right.
They're on their way to the UK. That's it.
I've got the 30-second clip here, Stephen. We'll play that, and then we'll wrap it up for today. Here we go.
Sounds good. Yeah, so they're dismantling the camp.
So they were living in tarps with duct tape holding them together.
Oh yeah, yeah. It was a good. The word to use is hovel, really. I mean, it wasn't. There were a lot of charities involved in helping people, but at the end of the day, it was somewhere. If you had a choice to live somewhere, you wouldn't have chosen there.
That's too bad.
Yeah,
it's sad. It's almost deplorable what's happening around the world when it comes to living conditions for many people out there. And it's sad. I'm fortunate and blessed to be able to say that I'm not in that position. I mean, I've had my heat go out before and lived in a week's worth of cold, but I could never imagine having to suffer through whatever length of time these people have to in this kind of conditions. I just can't. And I can't empathize, but I can certainly sympathize. So.
I'm with you on that one. And we are lucky living both sides of the pond.
Yes.
Well, that's another delightful outcome.
Woohoo! All right, good deal. Well, thanks, Stephen. I appreciate everything you do to prep for the show when I don't, because I know there are times I fly by the seat of my pants. I'm very impromptu, as everyone knows. So from this side of the pond on across the pond, thanks for everybody who is here to help support us on this show.
It's goodbye from the UK as well, from Wiltshire in England. And see you next week, Leland.
All right, take care, Stephen.
Bye, everybody.